Greetings, nerds. This is SNN Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is on the producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. How you doing this Monday evening?
I'm doing good. I'm surprised by how much Flash news is on our rundown.
Yeah, well, it was a very busy news Monday, and the one Flash item that really is happening now is the Flash film is in production. Andy Muschietti dropped a little snippet on his Instagram today with the new logo, and it was pretty dope. I mean, as far as the motion and the music GIF that he put out, and we have that, and also we did get confirmation that Michael Keaton is in the film
this week.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, maybe he's just filming a scene and then he's done, but his people confirmed it, because earlier we had talked a few weeks ago. He was concerned.
Trust me, I remember.
Yeah. It was one of those weeks. Yeah. Oh yeah. We did talk about that, and so where he was concerned about COVID and stuff, but I guess it wasn't just I have a source. It was saw in a couple places that that it was indeed his team did confirm that he's in it. So that's great.
The melodrama that is the DCEU just continues, because they know that MCU will hog the deadlines unless they create drama. Oh, you guys were so excited about Michael Keaton. Guess what? He's not in it. Oh, wait, he is. It's okay. Yep. Okay. Yep. We can only be teased for so long, but that's the only item of the Flash that you added to the rundown. You also brought up, which I think got announced a week ago. I remember hearing about this, but the Flash TV show has cast Jordan Fisher as Bart Allen, and he is set to appear in the 150th episode, where Thawne is the villain and a Wells dies.
I think this news it did break. I think when we were on our spring break, and so we haven't had a chance to talk about it here on the show, but that this did indeed happen, and Bart is showing up. Impulse is going to be there, and of course, the TV show being a TV show, they're going to change the character from Barry's grandson to his son, which ties into the other news that about the 150th episode, where I guess Jessica Parker Kennedy's returning as assume Nora, a version of Nora, and of course Jay Garrick, John Wesley Shipp will be back as well. Yeah,
it's going to be a family affair.
Yeah,
that we've seen happen a few different times on The Flash.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just like, okay, when I saw that they were making Barry and Iris' son, I was like, really, y'all didn't learn from season 5?
They didn't learn from season 2.
Yeah.
Okay. The Flash doesn't learn things all that well.
Yeah. But to Eric Wallace's credit, I will say I am actually enjoying season 7. It's I have refound my joy for the show.
I have not, but
anyway. Yeah. But yeah.
Other news has and actually Spider Man news, and no one has been casted or wait. Alfred Molina did spill some details about his return as Dr. Octopus in the Spider-Man No Way From Home. Still no confirmation from the other Spiders if they're showing up in this thriller of a movie. But on top of that, it was announced that the Into the Spider-Verse sequel, the sequel that at this point I really do just want to see, and not No Way Home.
Yeah.
No Way Home drama is about online with the DCEU, and that's not a good thing.
Yeah, that's true. Even though it's funny, with Molina's story in Variety, I guess it was Friday, where he was talking about it. I loved I love Twitter when things like that happen because people come up with the memes as far as like Kevin Feige as like, you know, sniper to death stares to him spilling all this about Dr. Octopus returning and of course the director saying, well, you know, it's the multiverse. Nobody really dies. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But Into the Spider-Verse sequel has named
Joaquin Dos Santos
and Kemp Powers and Justin K. Thompson as directors for the film, and it's going to be released on October 7th, 2022, as will most movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was pretty excited, you know. So I guess Thompson was production designer on the first film, and Dos Santos has done quite a bit of animation work, including Avatar and the Last Airbender, and a few others as well. So it seems like, and of course Kent Powers, One Night in Miami. Of course, he is nominated for the Oscar, which I guess is this weekend, this upcoming weekend.
I don't know. Yeah, I think it is this weekend.
Yeah, coming up. So for adapted screenplay. So yeah, and he was also I think part of the creative team with Soul as well. So I think this is the Spider-Verse. You're like you. I'm the same way. I can't wait for the sequel. I was just watching the first one just a few weeks ago and still love that film.
Yeah, it's a really good one. It caught me off guard, and I think it had some of the more funny moments than I thought. I don't know. No Way Home, that's another reason why I'm skeptical of No Way Home, just because I feel like Into the Spider-Verse already did it.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But before we get into the final topics, I just want to have talk about the DC CW verse lineup, whatever we're calling it these days. I know it's not their verse, but I saw a headline and it said that Painkiller was the new Oliver Queen.
Yeah.
Now, so you watched the show. Do you agree with that?
Not really. I thought it was, and I know which one you're talking about. I think it was a Screen Rant article or something like that, or maybe it was, I can't remember who wrote it, but I did read that piece, and I did watch Painkiller, and about the only similarities between Oliver and Khalil is that they're both rich now. Because Khalil, was, of course, he left Freeland and ended up in Akashi Valley, and so basically Grace and Anissa end up there on their honeymoon, and so but apparently the reason why Khalil ended up with a boatload of money was he and his compatriots found an old vault from the ASA, and were able to acquire those funds and use that to basically set up their new lifestyle in this new city. And so I liked the episode. I mean, it was enjoyable. I mean, I've always liked Khalil and the Painkiller character in Black Lightning, and but the thing is, and I guess this is what happens when you have a universe on a network, is all the beats that you are familiar with were there. I mean, you had the guy in the chair, as far as Khalil's partner, who helped him get better control of Painkiller, and you had another member of the team who also has a role and was helping Anissa with when she was attacked by Painkiller, because of course he was programmed to kill all the Pierces and help nurse her back. But it was an enjoyable episode. I thought Jordan Calloway did a tremendous job, and definitely does have the gravitas and the acting chops to be able to be a lead for a series. So I did think that, and I thought that was very, very, very promising. But I guess I'm concerned. I don't know if it'll get picked up. I mean, it did consistent with Black Lightning numbers,
right?
But at the same time, speaking of the Arrowverse and Arrow, another backdoor pilot that was launched in the last season of a series, Green Arrow and the Canaries, had almost 1 million viewers and did not get picked up.
Right.
And so when you have a series, we have Black Lightning that's canceled and has hovered around, 500,000 viewers on average. I will be pleasantly surprised if they pick it up to see.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
But there's other dynamics going on as well there too. I mean, if they want to have more characters of color as leads on the show, maybe they'll pick it up. But then you also, not to say checking boxes or whatever, but you have that now with Batwoman. So
yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Batwoman and your thoughts about at this point, it's not just that we have an entire verse on a single network, but they drop one a day or two a day sometimes. And a lot of these characters we've known for the better part of a decade. I mean, Barry Allen, name one. And so even as new shows like Black Lightning, like Painkiller or Batwoman come up, you do fall into this territory of it needs to be different.
Yeah.
Like Stargirl too. It needs to be different, and you need to come out swinging and not fall into the tropes. And I was watching Batwoman earlier today, and I was just thinking to myself, I don't know why this episode existed. I thought we were on track. We were getting there. They were doing some interesting things with Jacob Kane and Enigma, and I still blame you for this to this day on this, but it all goes back to how much screen time Alice has.
Yeah.
She has and on the flip side, what was really annoying was they set up this whole Fast and Furious story arc. And I'm just scratching my head where, okay, I get it. Sophie and Ryan, they're gonna become a thing, but why are we going so fast? Pun intended. and why there's no Mary in this episode? No Mary.
No, that's right. Come to think, yeah.
And the whole Angelique thing, I feel like they're playing those cards really quickly. Like, again, there's something about the pace of this episode where it felt very paint by numbers, very quick. And I'm just like, why are we diminishing things we already set up? Like, I still go back. Black Mask was, in one episode, a really interesting villain. Yep. In this episode, he was really annoying.
I was very frustrated watching the episode for various for many of the things you just set up, and I think the one thing that did come out of the episode that I did like, and something we talked about before, is they finally do have a good purpose for Sophie in the show. And even though the Fast and Furious plot line was very contrived, but it's giving her something to do, and also the way the episode ended with her figuring out that Ryan is indeed Batwoman, but also her the agent that Jacob put in charge of the investigation after things went sideways with them trying to infiltrate Black Mask to begin with. I did like the way they set that up, that basically now, given that Sophie found out who Batwoman 2.0 is a whole heck of a lot faster than she did when Kate was under the cowl, it gives her a new meaning to, like, okay, I gotta protect Ryan from being found out, given that the blood sample was collected by the other agent.
Well, she doesn't know that yet. She doesn't know that the other agent is on it.
Yeah, but
and it'll be interesting, though, the dilemma that this puts her in. And it's actually a further reminder that Kate is dead.
Yeah.
Not around. So we'll see. I didn't like it because I thought it was telegraphed.
Yeah.
And I also, I guess maybe because of how the writing has gone this season, in my mind, I think they're going to come up with a way to convince Sophie that she misheard, or do something like really stupid to make her forget about that.
Yes, I don't think so. I think her, to your point, it was telegraphed, but I think whenever the agent comes back in and says, "Hey, we have to run the DNA on this blood sample we got from Batwoman," she's going to go into protective mode because she obviously she knows Luke and Mary, and she has and Ryan have developed a rapport.
Luke and Mary are involved.
She knows Luke is because she overheard him on the tape.
Oh yeah, that's right. But she doesn't know Mary's involved because Mary wasn't in this episode.
That's true. But you know this. You know how these things go. They can only play that trick once of Mary being kept on the outside from everyone. And now that she's fully immersed in the Bat team, Sophie's going to find out.
We'll see. I don't know. I'm starting to get a lot of distrust. So you can remain optimistic, but I honestly don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it and how they're going to ruin everything.
I mean, that's basically what's keeping me. I mean, basically, Ryan, and that is the real reason that's keeping me around the show, because the whole Alice thing, I was just like, okay, I'm about to pull a Sarah and fast forward.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, I don't even like this Enigma thing where in 1 minute she totally removes Julie from the equation, and then in the next she's held hostage by Alice. Like, what the heck? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't want to burn any more minutes on that episode. Let's move on.
well, that's fine. I mean, I just wanted to save our friend, the MCU, for the last. Give it ample time, because not only are we going to talk about the 5th episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, but we do have some news. Olivia Colman, the woman that everyone wants in every might be in the MCU to join another actress who I did not see coming, and we're going to talk about that. But she is currently in talks to join the MCU in the upcoming Secret Invasion film. So, film or TV show?
TV show, Disney Plus. Posted, apparently, I think their goal is to start filming in the fall of this year.
Well, then we will get it next year.
Yep.
And I'm not mad. Now that we're in 2021 and we're wrapping up our second MCU show, I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty content with content.
Yeah.
Only for everyone to be shocked to wake up this morning and be a reminder that yes, we've released 2 very good TV shows, but we also have had a strong track record with this thing called a movie.
Yeah.
Here's a trailer for your next MCU movie, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So 2 things. Well, first thing, find it very also interesting how they released it at the beginning of this week when everyone last weekend was prepared to watch Mortal Kombat, only for that to get delayed a week.
Yep. That's right.
This trailer, I'm thinking about Mortal Kombat.
You're better than I am, because I had honestly completely forgotten about Mortal
I was watching this trailer. I like 75% of it.
Mm.
I like a lot of the setup of the character, the dilemma, and what this it has. I'm very interested. I didn't care for the bus sequence.
Yeah.
And I didn't care for the bus sequence because Aquafina, it felt like she was doing an impression of Sandra Bullock.
Yep.
And yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep. The speed. Yep.
And,
yep.
Yeah, there was something about that sequence that stuck out to me. And and her in particular, where I'm just like, I don't know if this is gonna work. But the other 75 or 80% of it, I was really on board with.
Yeah. Oh, I'm there with you too. And so what I really enjoyed about the trailer, a couple of things. I will say one thing about the bus sequence. The fight sequences on the bus sequence were dope as fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, they were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And just the fight sequences overall. I mean, in a 2-minute and 20-second trailer, the fight sequences were like just amazing. And of course, the inevitable things we saw, Twitter being Twitter, everybody was just like poking fun at Iron Fist, and of course you can't help but do that. And to your point too, it made me completely forget about Mortal Kombat. I was just like, oh yeah. I mean, those fight sequences were just amazing, and I'm so looking forward to that. The Aquafina character, apparently, so I don't know, I will freely admit, I do not know hardly anything about Shang-Chi, as far as I've never read a single page of the comic or whatever. So, so I'm definitely going to be hitting comics mixology and getting up to speed on this before the film comes out. Other than, obviously I remember the 10 Rings being mentioned way back when in the first Iron Man, and it's been around forever in the MCU. And of course, we got the fake Mandarin and Iron Man 3. So with that, but the Aquafina character is a creation of the MCU. So I did, in what things I have been able to read about it today, it's not a character in the comic. And so it's how you were saying Olivia Colman's like the actress who is like, we got to get her and everything. Mm-hmm. I'm beginning to feel that way with Aquafina as well. That we need to cast an Asian actress. Well, let's just go to Aquafina.
Yeah, and again, it was one scene. It was one part. Who knows if maybe we watch that scene in context of the movie, if it'll actually work, because that sometimes also happens where things don't work in the movie or in the trailer, and then when you see the full context and how it led up, it'll have a different payoff.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, very excited.
Yeah,
and I think it just helps that there's so much momentum right now for Marvel because of how good Falcon and Winter Soldier is doing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And I completely agree with you there. And when I think about it, it's like we're going to get 4 MCU films this year on top of 3, maybe 4 TV series. So because I think next up is Loki. I believe Hawkeye or maybe Ms. Marvel will drop later this year as well. Yeah. So I mean, what a great time to be a Marvel fan and really seeing how the MCU can work so well both on the big screen and on streaming platforms, and telling their stories and like I said, I mean, for a teaser trailer that Shang-Chi dropped today, I mean, Simon Liu just killed it. I mean, you could just feel already that in phase 4, this character is going to be, I don't know if the story will be or this character will be as universally, transcendent character. I'm trying to I'm getting to a point. I was thinking, I didn't want to go to Black Panther.
Okay.
As far as trying, as far as, because it's the first Asian American lead character in the MCU, on the big screen. So, I don't want to become that, but I don't want to like automatically like go there and be like all the time. It's like, oh, this might be the next Black Panther or whatever, as far as just like, as far as the cultural significance, but it might very well may be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think at the moment they announced it, everyone was there with it and knew, and the director involved and cast being predominantly Asian descent as well. I think Marvel knows what it's doing, and it's trying to make sure that it's being inclusive with these characters and these stories, and I guess that's the other thing. It's not just they're having these characters appear, but the stories in themselves are should be inundated with the culture that they are also trying to explore. You know what I'm saying? So, because I still remember our discussion of Black Panther and us talking about why was this called Black Panther and not Wakanda? Because Wakanda had almost a bigger presence than Black Panther in that movie.
Yeah.
So I all on board. MCU continues to just make me question why I ever got so invested in the CW verse. I get it.
It served its purpose. I mean, the CW, it's the part of the larger thing of just geekdom and nerddom, and it definitely served a good purpose, and I think it does still have a place.
Yes.
But I think the MCU, and particularly now, so far, at least on the two shows that we've had streaming, and we're going to transition here to episode 5 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The MCU is showing that with using these streaming platforms, really taking these characters that we've seen in a 2.5 hour, whatever movie, and really fleshing them out in a very good way. But also, to your point about, as you were saying with Shang-Chi, telling good grounded stories with it, on top of the usual comic book action that we've come to expect in these films as well. So so I think they've hit that sweet spot of being able to do both, and particularly in these new the two streaming shows that we've seen so far.
Yeah. And so on that note, let's just dive into it. Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 5. I think that, again, majority of this episode I liked. I do have some problems with the last, 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
Because I feel like this episode could easily be split into 2 different episodes. I really like pretty much the first 75% of the episode, from the opening. Oh my God, this fight sequence should have just been 1 episode.
Yeah. Put it on a loop.
Oh my God. Like they Sam lost his wings.
Yeah.
It just, there were so many points where you, and I keep talking about this, but it was so reminiscent of the iconic scene in Civil War between Bucky, Cap, and Tony.
Yeah.
It was very similar, especially whenever I see Sam and Bucky toss the shield back and forth to each other. I always go there as well. Yeah. And I love that decision. What they're doing with Walker in that was great. And did you catch the move that Sam did that was very reminiscent of Spider Man?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did. He's like, hey, he remember Berlin.
Yeah, I almost want to rewatch this series under the and just keep a tally of, okay, so that reminiscent of Winter Soldier versus Civil War, because I want to see what predominantly, which movie like does it call back to more, because I feel like every week I'm going back and forth on that.
Yeah.
But what, so I like all of that, and I really liked the scene between Sam and Isaiah Bradley.
Yeah.
It was great, and I like how that twisted or not twisted, but further twisted the dilemma that Sam has had since episode 1 about the shield and the legacy, and just furthered that knife into that wound, only for him to then turn around and within, I want to say, 10 minutes, pick up the shield as if he's never had that conversation.
Yeah. Well,
it was real quick.
It was real quick.
The other thing I would like to add is that he had a clear counseling session with Bucky and all of Bucky's issues, but no one had a counseling session with Sam.
He had it there on the dock with Sarah, with his sister. I think. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100% on the fight sequence. One thing, actually, when I was watching it, I watched it twice because it was just such a dense, deep episode. One, because like you said, all the callbacks to so many things.
Oh my god.
And but also two, just a story, especially the first. First 75-80% of it was really just so deep, and really wanted to make sure the Isaiah Bradley conversation and the fight, and quite frankly the fight sequence, because the one thing whenever with the fight sequence and Walker, I thought they ripped his arm off. I did. I was like, did they just did he just lose his left hand? But then of course it was just clear that it was just broken. But because the initial watch, I was like, holy shit.
Yep.
But yeah, there was that piece, and then the other thing about Walker and the lead up to that was the flashbacks, and as he's running and dealing with the decisions that he made, and to that point, and how he constantly, like, I noticed it was very telling that the person who actually killed Lamar, he always blamed it on Keeley's cohort.
Yep.
And not her.
Yep.
And there's multiple. I was trying to think. It was several levels of there. I don't. One was it. I mean, one was is thinking back to how he got his ass handed to him by the door. Malachi, is there some misogyny there that I got my ass I got beat up by a woman again? Is there that piece? Is there just the failure of she got away, so I'm just going to take it out on the closest flag smasher I can blame. There's several.
It's justification. So he knows that she killed him.
Mm-hmm.
She got away, and so he took out this other person. But justification to everyone who just witnessed him killing this person. He's trying to convince himself, no, I'm in the right.
Yeah.
I'm right. Yeah. I have to be in the right on this, even though I'm in the wrong. Like,
even the and whenever he was in front of the hearing, and continuing to try to justify in his mind why he did what he did, and even to the level of, you made me this way, and and especially when you juxtapose that to Steve and Isaiah about how the United States made these people. In Steve's case, it was a choice. He chose to take the serum with and it was a choice with Walker too, because he could have taken moral high road and not taking the serum.
Right.
But he chose to do so. And, as we talked about last week, with the decisions of knowing, Lamar and his bad analysis to his friend. But, Walker knew what was going on, because, that's, he was, we've seen this throughout the series of Walker always taught, from the moment we were really introduced to him in the second episode in the locker room, basically talking himself up to these expectations that he sees he has to meet, whether it's the expectation of being Captain America, the expectation of being a war hero, the expectation of being, well, heck, he wasn't even a good teammate, because Steve would have never let Lamar go. Steve was always about the team, whereas
right.
John's about himself, and he always rationalizes things and talks himself through, into, like you said, I'm the one in the right here.
Right. I don't know if he's always been about himself. I think that he's always viewed it as a job. I'm a soldier. It's my job. Getting the bad guy is my job. Now I'm a war hero, but we need a new Captain America. So I can be a superhero, no problem. Yeah. Just give me the suit, give me the shield. To the post-credit scene, he lost the shield only to go and think, oh, I can easily replace this and make my own. Like, I don't need that shield. He's not understanding, or then he realizes through last week's episode that, oh, I need to be more than just a soldier. I need power, because I'm squaring off against people who can beat me up. Like, I'm nothing to them. I'm an ant. So I need to be on their level. And so he takes it, only for that to corrupt him further. Of like, not only am I now powerful, but I am Captain America. I am the hero. Emphasis on the hero. And so even if I do bad things, I'm still in the right, because I am powerful. I am a god. Yeah. So I think that's the pathos that they went. Just because every time I think about that locker room scene, I always think about how he just views it as a suit. Like, he's used to this. It's a job. Yeah. That's a good point. That progression carries over into the fallout of this episode.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I guess, and I think the reason why I said he thinks he's about John is when he went to see Lamar's parents, and how he handled that situation with them, and again, and of course it sets up a good counterpoint with how John handles situations and how Bucky handles situations with being Winter Soldier and all the crimes he committed. And basically, it's, not being straight with them about what really did happen. He had a moment to where he could be very honest, had no need to be be the good soldier or whatever. He could just be, look, y'all, here's what happened. But he didn't. And it was, to your point, I think it was to make himself again feel justified and for committing that murder for all the world to see.
Yeah. Well, now he has Madam Hydra to report to as U.S. agent, who we know is coming.
Yep.
I couldn't, the moment Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah.
Basically her VP persona in the MCU.
Yeah, when she walked up, I was like, is that It is. Yeah, I was like, wow. So that's the cameo.
That's the cameo. That's
Yeah,
the cameo.
that's the
Uh,
cameos. I tell you, I know. I guess I think I guess DeFontaine was supposed to be first introduced in Black Widow, but I guess because of
yep.
because of
Scheduling.
everything, now they had to reshoot it, and I guess have her get her debut here. But I like the way they did it. They still left a lot of mystery around what this character is and who her character is.
Yeah.
So
I I'm not mad at cameos
no,
because no one knew. I
yep,
didn't even know she was going to be in Black Widow, and it was perfect timing. And even if they had to reschedule things, they're not going to suddenly not make a character appear because they have to debut in a certain movie. So
yeah.
um so now that we've kind of wrapped up on Walker, let's talk about the Isaiah Bradley scene.
Yeah.
And this has been building, and I like how Bucky and Sam get the shield, but even they're at a loss of what to do with it. Sam loses his wings, so he returns home. Or at first, I thought he was going to return home, but he ends up going to see Isaiah, and Isaiah explains to him, like in such a well acted scene, that the history, your history, and what you perceive as that legacy is not how I perceive it, and here's why. And I really like how they articulated everything that we thought, especially in those first 2 episodes, about why Sam didn't immediately take the shield and everything. But they brought it to a head, and again, I feel like they just undermined it though, with how quickly though it kind of felt as though Sam got over that and just was like, no, I'm going to pick up the shield anyway.
I think, I don't know if it, I don't know if it would have, I guess they only have 6 episodes, and I guess in a perfect world, maybe they could have
10.
had that 10 exactly, and and then we could have had more time, but I that conversation in and of itself is just so powerful because of course immediately when I was watching it real time, obviously went back to the first Avenger, and the whole with the parallels between Steve and Isaiah, and how they did basically 2 people did basically the same action, and then how and then the fallout from that action. One person declared a national hero, the other person ends up in the stockade.
Right.
And of course all the legacy, and we don't, and the history, of course weaving that in to the story that they've done throughout the series. So the thing that really stayed with me with that scene, one, beyond Carl Lumbly's like amazing work there, and even Anthony Mackie too. I mean, they both still, it was the conviction in that scene, in that room, was just there. But whenever Isaiah turned to him and said, any self-respecting black man cannot take up that shield, I was just like, damn, he just did a mic drop moment. And I happened to think, and of course thinking about real time days and just my own personal experience and my own professional work and things that happened last year, and the agency I work in, and some of the Black Lives Matter things, and working with law enforcement and those kind of stuff. It was just like, me as a black man, I was just like sitting there. I had to just sort of do my own, self-reflection about things that I've seen through as well. And so it was a very poignant moment in that episode that really that touched me on another level. I guess that where I had my Sam moment too. It was like, okay, where do you draw the line? And and when examining things. So it was that scene really touched me at a different level when I was watching it. And then seeing Sam's decision later, as far as later in the episode when he's talking to his sister about why he is going to take up the shield and in honoring the legacy of Isaiah. He's like, yeah, he recognizes like, yeah, there's injustice, and I think that's why I like the way they did that. It wasn't that Sam tried to explain things away. He's like, look, I know what's going on,
right?
But there is still a large, but to me, in Sam's eyes, it's to honor his legacy. I want to pick up the shield to become the first Black Captain America.
Yeah, and prove that change has occurred almost.
Yeah, and change that. Yeah, and it's like the whole thing. People say, "Oh, we had a Black president, everything's fine now." It's like, no, it's not. I mean, and Sam picking up. Yeah, and Sam picking up the shield, the issues are still going to be there, but there has been growth, and he can pick up the shield and be Captain America and represent the ideas of America.
Right. It'll be interesting how Carly reacts to that as well, because she's made it clear her thoughts about the shield and what the shield represents, concerning her as a refugee and what her cause, which very, very little Carly in this episode. Clear setup for her attack on during the GRC vote. Very reminiscent of current times, political discussions that have happened, especially over the last year.
Yep.
And that's another thing they're doing really well in this series is dropping those moments of not reminiscence, but shadowing to things that have occurred, especially within the past year. So it makes everything feel current.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, while we have all of that going on with Walker and Sam, we also have some Zemo and Bucky action.
Yep.
But
no IO and Bucky action though.
yeah. I was like, you said when he said, "Hey, I have a favor," I thought he was going to say something else, but whatever. So Zemo is going to get sent to the raft.
Yep.
And he was delivered by Bucky. It's funny, after all of the Captain America movies, everyone was saying we want a Falcon and Winter Soldier buddy cop show, and we got it. Now I'm just like, no, we want Falcon, Winter Soldier, and Zemo. They're the amigos.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody out, obviously the clear parallels are to the whole Lethal Weapon series with Murtaugh Riggs and Leo Getz.
Yep. And something that, again, we keep referencing these movies, but we do get clarification from Bucky that Steve was using in the Winter Soldier movie. So it's one thing to have that book, but then to say it's the same one, my mind exploded.
Yeah.
And I go back, we talked about, or we brought it up before, but there was a really good scene, and just one part of this last 25% of the episode where I had some issues with some of the resolutions, but they kind of sprinkled in just a lot of good old Sam and Bucky love fest.
Yeah. It was Rocky and Apollo training on the beach.
Yeah, I guess half of the movie was a current MCU movie. The other half was, let's just go and pay homage to all of these 80s films, because we can. And they agree that, which again is funny, how they're still not partners. They're still not friends. They're just, they're in a good place, and
Yeah.
and I like everything that Sam told Bucky, and how he has to get over. He really has to make amends. He can't just claim he is, because what he's doing is not, and it's not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
And
I like too. Yeah, and I like too how Bucky, again, how what a good penultimate episode does is tie up various loose ends before you jump into the finale for the big overarching and big, tying up everything, and Bucky understanding what Sam was talking about way back in the interrogation room, as far as why the complicated legacy of the Shield,
right?
And just a very simple, and it was a very simple, I get it. You didn't have to have a bunch of exposition. I think that was well executed on behalf of the show there.
Yeah. It probably didn't stand out to me as much because there was a really good similar conversation held on this show that I called This Is Us last week, and it was a really good episode because it was all about Stephen Randall. I'm just saying, Sterling K. Brown, love him. But I think you're right. I think that as much as the last quarter of this episode kind of was almost rushed, I would argue.
Yeah.
They have to get these characters in a certain place so that they can execute the finale they want to. My only request for the finale, and don't worry, I'm not going to say, please, let's have Mephisto show up, is that the final scene be Sam and Bucky locked in the interrogation room again and having a counseling session. I want it to go off and listen to improv couple staring contest happen. Yep. I think as much as Sam did some great counseling, I still think they need to get some couple counseling. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
They do need some couples. They do need some couples counseling. And but as far as prediction, that would be my favorite. That would be my favorite ending. As far as other predictions, no Mephisto for sure. At this point, as far as Power Broker, I thought the cameo was going to be that this week, honestly, but clearly it wasn't. Of course, we did have 2 minutes or so of Sharon setting up that last 10 minutes or so of the episode with Bot Rock coming back from. I had actually forgotten that character was the guy that Sam was fighting at the very beginning of the series, but he's back. Is Sharon Power Broker? I don't know at this point. Is she playing both sides? Maybe. I think we will get resolution as far as who the character is, and so we'll see. I mean, you can only, is it? I know Paul Bettany played us all with WandaVision, saying how he was there's a character I wanted to play up against, and I don't know if Emily Van Camp's doing the same thing with some of her comments and interviews about Power Broker, but I at the end of the day, yes, it's an important plot point, but to me, it's sort of okay, it's almost like whoever the character is. I know in the comic books it's a very big deal, but I think the way they have structured this series, it's more about Sam's journey and stuff, and to becoming Captain America. And yes, Power Broker is an important part of that, but it's not the focal point to me.
Right. So. No, I agree. I just know resolution is coming, probably set up for future projects as well. Looking forward to that. It's going to be a good episode.
Yeah, they are setting. Yeah, I did notice. I did read an article where they were saying that that there is, unlike WandaVision, which clearly was sort of one and done kind of deal. I could easily see this another season of Falcon and Winter Soldier, because they the way this show is structured is structured in a way that you could have continuing stories with these two characters beyond this one series. And also, just a little interesting note too, that I know Marvel Studios submitted this one in the drama category for the Emmy consideration versus WandaVision, which was in the limited series division. So one, maybe one, not to say they will have their own shows cannibalizing each other, but two, I think just maybe looking at this as more of a potential ongoing series. So
yeah, no, I can see it. 6 episodes is far too few for me. And on that note, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me at Will M. Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at CNN Nerd. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, but most importantly, rate, follow, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.